Guys, in this video we're going to be painting the sea turtle. I've got my paint already on my plate. You should have 6 colors. I've got blue, turquoise, yellow, red, black, and white. You're also going to need an assortment of brush sizes. I have 4 different sizes. Really, you just kind of need a bigger one and like a detail-y one. You can make do with those. I have a big one, a medium, I've got this small one, and this kind of long, skinny liner brush. But whatever you have, you can work with. A towel to dry your brushes off once you get them clean. And of course, you're gonna need a jar of water to keep your brushes in when you're not using them and to clean them out. I'm gonna get started with the background. I'm gonna mix up a purpley color. So to mix my paint, I'll use maybe this medium-sized brush. And to make purple, I'm going to use red and blue. So I'm gonna just take a big scoop of my red and add to a big scoop of blue. And it's gonna make this kind of dark purpley color. And everyone's purple will probably be a little bit different shade. I'm gonna get a little bit more on the red end. So I'll stir a little bit more red in. You can't really tell what color this is right at the moment because it's so dark, kind of looks ugly. But to add a little white and our color, you'll be able to see better what you have. You just want to make sure, I'm going to add a little bit more white. It's creeping in anyway. So here I've got a nice purpley color. If you want it to be more blue, mine is a little on the bluer side still, dripping everywhere. You can add more red, and it'll get more like a magenta-y purple. And I'm just gonna fill in everything in my background. So just make sure that you've mixed up a lot of your colors to fill in everything around the outside of your turtle. So while I work, I'm getting the purple on, but while I work, I am gonna just use white and kind of blend that in with it. I'm just gonna come around and get the whole turtle painted. So it's getting a little light. Just add more of your purple color. And I'm leaving it to be kind of streaky. I'm gonna be adding some dark purple in later to kind of make seaweed lines. So streaks are good. Come around this little flipper. And you don't have to use purple as your background. I mean, if you can have it be more like realistic colors, I just thought doing purple would make it a little more fun. If you wanted to do green, to make green, you would do a little bit of this turquoise and with some yellow, and then of course add some white, and you'll have a nice bright green. You could do blue for like water. So you could use either of these blues or mix them together, make a new blue, and still add some white. So whatever you decide. It's your painting. You can make it however you want. Okay, so I think I've got my background filled in fairly well, maybe just a few touch-ups here and there. I'm gonna go in and do like seaweed. So I want my color to be a little bit darker. So I'll just mix up some more right on top. I've got red and blue. I'll just stir that together. I have a nice dark purple. It's okay if your other color gets mixed in. So that's nice and dark. Since there's white already mixed in with that purple we used before, we don't need to add any. But if you had run out, just add a little bit of white to your color. So this color should show up nice and dark on the color I already had. And I'm just gonna come in and just put wiggles, just some squiggly lines. You want them to kind of come from behind the turtle as well. These are kind of like seaweed. You can blend them too if you want. Just take a little bit of white. You can mix a little bit of white in with some color. So I've got the dark color here that I stirred in with a little bit of white. And if you want to just kind of brush that on some of them to kind of smooth them out a little, that will help. So I'll put some dark squiggles up here. And I'll show you better what I'm talking about with the light. I'll take a little of the lighter purple and maybe just kind of blend them a little. So I want to keep some of this original background color showing behind. So I'm just putting some wiggly lines in. And maybe a little of the light purple with it too, just to kind of give a little variation in color. I'm just gonna keep going till I get my whole background squigglied. So there, I've got my whole background all covered with like squiggly, wiggly lines. A little bit more in there, just wherever. So now I can start working on my turtle. I'm gonna do this big shell part first, and I'm going to just paint it red. So my big brush and just some red paint. I'm gonna get this all filled in. And it's gonna be a little streaky and not look the best. That's all right, we're gonna be layering on top. So just focus on a nice even coat. Kind of looks like a raspberry. Okay, so I've got one coat of red on. You can see it's a little streaky. We'll be layering on top. Those won't show near as much as they are right now. I'm gonna let that be. I'm gonna leave that to dry. And next I'm gonna come in and do the body parts. So his head and all of his little fins and his little tail. So that is gonna be the turquoise color mixed in with some white. And get my brush paint out. And I'm just gonna take some turquoise color and stir it in with quite a bit of white. So I want it a nice light turquoise. Can you see? I hope so. And with this color, I'm just gonna go in and paint around the eyes. So his whole head, except the eyes. And again, if you wanted to paint these parts different, that's perfectly fine. You've got lots of choices on your plate for colors. You should be able to mix up any color you want to make green. Again, it's yellow and turquoise and white. A lot of yellow in that mix. Purple is blue and red. You can also make purple using the turquoise and red. Orange would be red and yellow. So just whatever you want. Be light blue, so you would just put white in with some blue. I'm using light turquoise. So it's a little turquoise mixed in with quite a bit of white. Be careful around your edges here where we just painted that shell. Probably still wet paint. Don't want to get that bright red in with your blue. This does get an outline later, so if your edges are a little messy, that's fine. We'll be able to cover them up with an outline at the end. Help clean up your edges. All right. So I'll go ahead and paint the eyes black. I'm just cleaning out my brush. Get it dried off. Just a little black paint. And fill in these little eyes shapes. There, I've got his eyes done. Let's see. I'm gonna go back to the shell. It's probably still tacky. You guys need to wait for this to dry. I'm gonna blow mine dry. So just sit tight while that dries. Okay, so now I can layer on top without worrying. I'm going to be making a orangish color, and that's gonna be like part of the shell. I just gotta get a little bit more red on my plate. I used to go with my purple. So to make orange, it's gonna be yellow and red. It's gonna be more yellow than red. So I'm just gonna scoop up some red and start stirring it into some orange, or some yellow, red and yellow. So I'm getting this kind of orangey shade. And then I'm gonna add some white into it. And it's probably gonna end up looking a little bit more yellow, yep. So it's starting to kind of get more of a yellowy orange color. And to fix that, we're just gonna add a little bit more red. I'm dripping right off the edge of my plate. Hang on just a second. I just gotta get that scooched off so that it doesn't end up getting all on my hand. Okay, so here I've got my orange. And everyone's will be a little different. And with this color, I'm gonna start kind of defining like little bumps in the shell. So I'm gonna start around the outside edges where we already have like these bumps kind of drawn on that we painted the whole shell red. And I'm just gonna very loosely paint orange circle shapes, leaving red kind of gaps in between. So we have individual little sections. So I'm leaving the red kind of stay red on the edges. And I'm just going in and putting little circle-y shapes. And they're not perfect circles. They're kind of wonky, a little ovally, maybe some here and there. I'm just going all the way around the outside edges. I'm gonna go all the way around, making these circle-y, kind of ovally, bumpy spots. And you can kind of go back over to the ones you already did, maybe another coat, help them show up a little bit better. And now I'm gonna work on the inside bumps. So I'm gonna start with like a semicircle shape right here. And I'm gonna kind of go around the curves of the bumps that I just painted, those circly shapes. I'm gonna leave the red kind of show behind. So there's one. And to the sides of that one, I'll do another kind of half circle shape. And I'm gonna just kind of leave a little gap and fill in. So I'm leaving this red in between. But we can go back in later if you need to and add more red on top to help define those lines that we're kind of leaving behind. We're like creating lines by not painting the whole thing in solid. So there I've got this one. So far I've got this top one that's kind of big and these side ones that are a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna start in the middle again. And maybe about halfway here and halfway here, I'll do another semicircle. It's kind of just like a loop. And then I'm gonna come up, leaving this red. See how I created that line by just not painting it. Then on the sides, I'll make two more big ones. So maybe here and here. And I'm gonna leave a little gap where it's gonna stay red. I'm gonna do that on all the edges. And again, we can always go back in and kind of fix those lines we're creating by actually painting red. So I'm gonna do the same here, leave a little gap on all of the surrounding edges. So it's starting to look like a shell. I'll put a small swoop here. And I'm leaving that little space, letting that red create the line. And maybe some side ones, maybe a side one here, and a little side one here. We can do this bottom one, and then I'll just kind of work in some small ones. I'm just gonna leave the edge red. And I'll just make these little guys here. And everyone's little shell shapes are gonna be different. Just depends on how big or small you make them. Oops. So you can kind of come back in and like maybe brighten up some of the spots with a second coat. Just kind of brightening these ones up that I have already painted. So now he's got his little shell. I'm going to make a little bit lighter bit of orange. So I'm gonna take more yellow, stir it into some of my orangey color. Can't really see the difference right now, but when you add a little bit more white, you'll see that it gets a little bit brighter. A little bit yellowier, a little bit brighter. So original orange, Now we have this very bright yellowy orange. And very little on our brush. I'm just gonna scrape the excess. Oops, I got turquoise in there. Let me get that clean out of my brush. Don't want that. So just with a little bit of this light orange color on my brush, I'm gonna just swoop a little bit on kind of the bottom parts of all of my little pieces of the shell. And it's just a little bit on your brush, very light-handedly. You're just putting highlights on. Okay, so now I've got nice bright pops of kind of this yellowy orange color on all of my little shell pieces. So I'm gonna go back in with a small brush. So any place where it's in between and red, just take your red. So like maybe here I got too close and just need to put that back in as red. You could just put the lines back in between all of your little pieces. If you got little spots that may look a little pink because the paint is real thin, you can fill those in. So just, you can go back in and kind of fix any spots where you need to put lines back in between all of your little shell pieces. So some of you may have more to go back in and fix. Some of you might not have any. That's great. You can just kind of fix her up as you need. So I'm happy with how mine looks overall. And I'm gonna go back in and start working on the body parts that we painted this turquoise color. So he needs like little spots put on. So I'm gonna use a medium or small size brush. I'm gonna get it cleaned out. Right now it's full of orange. Cleaned off, dried off. And originally we painted using this kind of lighter turquoise. So I'm going to take a lot more of that color, maybe just mix it into a small area of that, just so it's got a little bit of white stirred in. I don't want it to be as light as we did earlier. I want these little dots to show up pretty good. So that looks pretty good to me. Hopefully you can see. And just with a little on my brush, just kind of scrape the extra off. I'm gonna come in and just put like little spots on him. Well, first I'm gonna go around his eyes. So around the outside edge of the eyes, you're going to just kind of put a little bit of an outline. So I've got that one done. And I'll come over here and do this one. All right. So next I'll take this same color and I'm just gonna kind of put in, maybe it's got some nostrils there. And then just kind of like these weird, like little random blobby kind of dot markings. And just any which way you want to put them. This just kind of gives our turtle some design on him. I'm going to do his little flippers. Some little dotty marks on there. I'll do the other one too. And then on his bottom legs. Hey guys, so I'm sorry. I just realized that my video stopped partway through. There's only a few steps left, so instead of painting the whole thing over, I am just going to point out what we still need to do. Where we left off before, we were adding in this darker turquoise color, like little designs on his flipper's tail head. The next step is we were just going to be adding an outline. So with a small brush, you're going to mix up a nice kind of bright blue. And this color here, this is what we'll be using. To do that, I just mixed, I have blue, so it's quite a bit of blue, and then I just added a little bits of white. And I just stirred it together and made this nice bright blue. And just using your small brush, you're going to go, I'll start up here. I did this line here, and then around the eyes where we did that darker green kind of outline, that turquoisey green, I just kind of put a short line here from the top and then a short line from the bottom. They don't really connect. If yours do, that's fine. And then you'll just continue on an outline around the neck. You're gonna do the fins, flippers, little arms, outline those. And then around the outside edge of the shell, not within the shell, just around the outside edges. And once you get that done, you'll come down here and outline with the same blue around the back leg, little fin flippers, and his little tail. So take your time, get that done. When you're finished, we just have one more step, and it's using white paint. We add in the bubbles and our white highlights. So using, again, your small brush, you want to get that cleaned out. And again, I'm sorry, I don't know why my video just decided to quit going. It's plugged in and everything, so who knows. With just plain white paint, you'll just take a little bit of your white paint. On the eyes, we have a little swoop here and a little swoop here, and then just a couple little dots. For bubbles, I did just big circles. These may be a little smaller. You can do your bubbles however you want. You can have more or less, bigger ones. You can place them out here. Whatever you decide is perfectly fine. Put the little swoops in the bubbles to make them look wet and shiny. And then just some little dots, like little itty bitty bubbles that might be coming out as well. I put little dot bubbles down here by the fins, and also down at the bottom by his little leg fins. There's a few more places that we add white. I did a swoop up here, little highlight on the top of this fin here, and then a little white swoop on the highlight on that fin. On this leg, at the top kind of outside edge, and then at the top outside edge on that one. And a little bright white right there on the edge of the tail. Lastly, I just went in with more white, and then on kind of the bottom left-hand side of each one of these little orange pieces that we did on the shell, you're just gonna add a little swoop of white highlight to each one of those as well. So just take your time. When you're finished with that, you've completed the painting. Sign your name. Please take pictures and upload to my Facebook page, Willy-Nilly, so I can see your finished work. I love seeing them. You guys do an awesome job. The post is just pinned right to the top of my Facebook page, Willy-Nilly. Just upload your photos there. While you're there, check out what everybody else has posted. Sorry again that the video just kind of stopped partway through. Fortunately, it was only a couple steps that we missed, and I'll just tack this little bit right onto the previous video. So you should be able to complete the painting, no problem. I'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.